Across the world, traditional diets have long been grounded in the abundant use of starch-rich foods, natural, minimally processed staples that have nourished generations and shaped vibrant, healthy communities. Far from being the dietary villains some modern trends have made it out to be, starch has served as the foundation of some of the longest-living, most resilient populations in human history. These cultures don't just survive on starch, they thrive with it. From the rice terraces of Asia to the maize fields of Latin America and the yam-rich soils of Africa, starch forms the heart of traditional foodways that are deeply satisfying, sustainable, and profoundly health-promoting. In Asia, particularly in countries like Japan, China, and Thailand, rice has long reigned as the central dietary staple. Steamed white rice, brown rice, sticky rice, and black rice each play different roles in regional cuisine. In Okinawa, Japan, home to one of the highest concentrations of centenarians in the world, the traditional diet was built not around meat or fat, but around sweet potatoes, which provided the majority of daily calories. These vibrant purple tubers are rich in fiber, antioxidants, and slow-digesting starch. Combined with small amounts of soy products, green vegetables, and occasional seafood, this starch-centered diet has been associated with exceptional longevity, low rates of obesity, and reduced incidence of chronic diseases. Likewise, in rural areas of China and Southeast Asia, meals traditionally consist of large servings of rice, accompanied by vegetables, tofu, and a bit of meat or fish used as a flavoring rather than a centerpiece. These high-starch meals are not only affordable and accessible, they are balanced, filling, and deeply nourishing. Despite high carbohydrate intake, traditional Asian diets were historically associated with low body fat, high energy levels, and minimal incidence of metabolic disease, until the arrival of Western-style processed foods. Moving across the globe to Africa, we find another powerful example of starch-based eating patterns that promote robust health. In West and Central Africa, staples such as yams, cassava, plantains, millet, and sorghum are central to the diet. Fufu, made from fermented cassava or plantain, is eaten with stews rich in leafy greens, okra, and legumes. Millet porridge, a high-fiber, slow-digesting meal, is a breakfast standard in many Sahelian communities. These traditional starches are naturally gluten-free, nutrient-dense, and rich in resistant starch that supports gut health. Importantly, they are often consumed in whole or lightly processed forms, retaining their fiber and micronutrient content. Even in regions with limited access to animal products, these starches provide enough energy and satisfaction to sustain hard physical labor, childbearing, and long, healthy lives. Latin America also tells a powerful story of health rooted in starch. In Mexico and Central America, maize has been the sacred grain for millennia. In its traditional form, nixtamalized corn used to make tortillas and tamales, maize offers more than just starch. The process of nixtamalization unlocks its calcium and amino acid content, making it more digestible and nutritionally complete. Combined with beans, squash, and chili peppers, the traditional Mesoamerican diet is a textbook example of a complete, plant-based meal that satisfies and nourishes. Black beans with rice, corn tortillas with avocado and vegetables. These meals are rich in fiber, complex carbohydrates, and plant-based protein, offering all the macronutrients the body needs without the inflammation-inducing excesses of modern ultra-processed diets. In South America, potatoes, of which there are thousands of native varieties, have sustained Andean cultures for thousands of years. In Peru and Bolivia, traditional meals often center around boiled or baked potatoes, served with native grains like quinoa and amaranth, as well as legumes, cheeses, and spicy sauces. These high-altitude communities demonstrate remarkable endurance and vitality, built on starch-rich diets tailored to their environment and traditions. The wisdom embedded in these diets lies in their balance. Whole starches paired with fiber, healthy fats, and proteins in forms that the body can absorb slowly and steadily. One of the most striking things about these traditional starch-based diets is that they consistently promote satiety without excess. People in these cultures typically eat until they're comfortably full, not because they're counting calories, but because the food itself is so naturally balanced. Fiber-rich, slow-digesting starches are bulky and satisfying, triggering the body's satiety signals effectively. Meals are prepared with care, eaten communally, and structured around simple, wholesome ingredients. There's little room for the energy-dense, hyper-palatable processed foods that dominate Western diets today, and the health outcomes reflect that difference. What these traditional diets all share is a deep respect for the starches that nature provides in their most complete forms. Rather than shunning carbs, these cultures embrace them, and have done so for centuries with great success. The problem with modern diets is not starch itself, but the refining and adulteration of these foods into nutrient-poor, fiberless versions that encourage overconsumption. Stripped of their original form, starches lose their natural checks and balances. But when kept whole, they function as nature intended, to satisfy hunger, deliver steady energy, and provide essential nutrients to every system in the body. In a world increasingly filled with food confusion and conflicting messages, the clarity and common sense of these traditional diets offer something rare and precious, proof that healthy eating doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't require fear of carbs or strict food rules. It simply asks for a return to real, whole foods, especially the humble starches that have carried humanity forward for thousands of years. These time-tested dietary patterns are not relics of the past. They are roadmaps to a healthier future. And they all begin with the nourishing, grounding power of good starch.